Greetings, confident viewers, and welcome to Enlightening Entertainment. Our program today features Stuart Sender, an award-winning news writer and media producer who strives to make popular media that inspires people to take meaningful action. With extensive experience working in major American television, Mr. Sender was senior producer of the award-winning PBS News magazine program South Africa Now. He was the director of the Oscar-nominated documentary film Prisoner of Paradise, which also won a Directors Guild's nomination for Best Documentary Feature. Together with his spouse and accomplished filmmaker Julie Bergman Sender, the talented producer founded Balcony Films, which featured stars such as Will Ferrell, Stevie Wonder, Helen Hunt, and Jason Alexander, as well as documentary pieces for the American Civil Liberties Union and Mother Jones magazine. Balcony Films raises the public's involvement in important issues by combining storytelling with useful ideas. Balcony Films has been highlighted in major media including the New York Times, Boston Globe, Los Angeles Times, NBC Nightly News, Entertainment Tonight, The View, Oprah, and many more. Mr. Stuart Sender has been a contributor to the CNN World Report, where he has appeared as an on-air commentator. His articles and editorial writings have been printed in various publications including the Los Angeles Times. He has worked on 6 continents and interviewed a range of world figures, including former South African President Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, the late Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, and celebrities such as Kevin Costner and Ziggy Marley. As our interview began, Stuart Sender shared his experience making the Emmy Award-winning series on the channel PBS, South Africa Now. It was with this project that his conviction was affirmed that media has the power to advance beneficial social change.
There was a group of journalists who began to get pictures that were taken by crews and a group of us in a loft in Little Italy in New York put together what became South Africa Now, which was a 30-minute weekly news program on public television and was distributed internationally as well. So we've tried in our work and continue to try in our work to tell stories that maybe come from a different place. I feel much less alone around this than I did at the time, where we really did feel like we were, pushing boulders up a big mountain.
Despite some daunting challenges, Stuart Sender and his colleagues realized that the stories they broadcast were actually helping to shape the events unfolding. The media was helping to change the government's viewpoint, it was aiding along the end of apartheid, and it was setting in motion society's walk on a path to democracy. Stuart Sender had the honor to be given the first exclusive interview with Mr. Nelson Mandela after the esteemed leader was released from prison. South Africa Now, which Mr. Sender produced, went on to win an Emmy Award for Best News Magazine and the prestigious Polk Award for Excellence in Journalism. Stuart Sender headed the production of Mandela, Free at Last, a nationally broadcast PBS special. He also produced Countdown to Democracy, an acclaimed documentary film about South Africa's first democratic, non-apartheid election. It was released theatrically and broadcast on popular movie channels HBO and Cinemax. Stuart Sender recognized that along with professionally created media, a trend in grassroots programming has also blossomed. Ordinary citizens were becoming powerful creators of their own films and calls for change.
People with cameras who go out and tell stories and capture images and who make history in that way or push people in that way. I mean, what's happening around issues from the environment to politics, to people taking cameras to remote corners of the planet to show us about what's happening in all kinds of ways, is having an enormous impact.
When our interview continues, the socially conscious film producer and director Stuart Sender speaks about one storytelling film project he has been working on that could help in promoting forgiveness and peace. Please stay tuned to Enlightening Entertainment. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Enlightening Entertainment in our interview with film director and producer Stuart Sender. Mr. Sender speaks about some of his unique current film projects that are documenting extraordinary acts of cross-cultural peace building happening around us today.
Well, one of the projects that we really are passionate about right now is a film project that we call the F Word. In this case, F stands for forgiveness. We are working with an organization that's based in London called the Forgiveness Project that collects stories from around the planet of everyone from victims and perpetrators of crime who found a way to kind of talk to each other, from people who are on opposite sides of political conflict and war. Really what it's about at its core is dialogue. It's about conversation. It's about giving people tools to speak to each other. It's about saying that intractable violence may have a solution, that there are other ways to approach justice that doesn't necessarily involve revenge, which just perpetuates this cycle. So we feel like it's a really important area to explore. So I've just come back from the Middle East, where I was with Israeli and Palestinian combatants who have put down their weapons and decided the only way forward is for them to talk to each other and work with each other. It was really powerful to see these guys, Israeli soldiers and the Palestinians, kind of rediscovering the brotherhood that they have. So it's really powerful to see the way that people are pushing from the bottom up. I think it's through this storytelling, it's through people getting to really see each other as human beings that we start to break down these walls. And when people get to see these stories, it really moves them. And it's not just in the Middle East, it's in South Africa, where we're working with a woman who lost her daughter to a bombing, and she's managed now to make a relationship with the man who ordered the bombing. And they're working together for peace and reconciliation. In Northern Ireland, where that peace process still goes forward, and where we're working with a man who was a loyalist soldier who at 14 was in a battle and went through a transformation in prison and now teaches peace and reconciliation work to combatants around the world. I think it speaks to that if they can work through this kind of stuff, then all of us can do this in our relationships day to day, and that we can push, leaders to say, you've got to sit down and talk to your enemies. Who else are you going to negotiate with but your enemy? Who else are you going to make peace with if not your enemies? That project has a kind of sensibility around it that we hope infuses a lot of the work that we do, because we try to speak to people through telling honest, real stories. I think that's how we move people. We can't preach at each other and tell each other what to do, but I think this is when any storytelling or any media is really effective, it illuminates something that is true. Sometimes it's through humor, sometimes it's through important conversations, but again, it's letting people speak.
Stuart Sender spoke about another new film he produced that highlighted one community's remarkable experience. It's entitled The Garden and was released in 2008.
There's this thing happening in South Central LA, and the largest urban garden in the United States, which so many of us know as this kind of blighted, really rough area of Los Angeles.
Concrete.
So in this concrete jungle was the nation's largest urban garden, 14 acres, which was covered not with concrete anymore, but with 500 varieties of trees, organic vegetables, corn, organic flowers. It was farmed largely by Mexican-American immigrants, hundreds of families who were growing food and feeding themselves in the community. The existence of this place was threatened. And we all decided that a film should be made about it. It's extraordinary to see what happened there, because it literally was a vacant lot with trash and debris and broken bottles. And it became this beautiful farm. And it really does speak to possibility, and it really does speak to what a community can do when they come together. It's farm, garden, warehouses, what do we value? And now, as we're looking at food shortages, energy shortages, how do we not support and build more of these places? How do we not look to a place like the garden and say, this is a model for what not only should but has to happen in communities around the country and around the world? We're working on a project that's looking at the relationship between organic food, energy, the built environment. So not just the environment that's here for us to live in, but also the one that we create. And how these things all tie together and impact climate change. We know we need to preserve the rainforest, but if we understand that why it's being cut down, if we understand the value that it provides, if we understand it, and maybe we have to give people some terms they can understand it in, not just spiritual value, not just the value of cultures, but maybe people need to get that there's a utility here that is irreplaceable, that there's a value to the way all of us live.
Stuart Sender's next film continues to work to make these connections and to speak about solutions that are possible.
This is an amazing moment for people who want to tell stories, for people who want to connect with each other across boundaries, and I think they should do it. I think that's the real hope, is that there really is an opportunity for people to find their voice and to plug in. That's tremendously exciting, and I think that's the thing that gives me the feeling that we want to keep pushing on and doing this, and up against all the challenges we face, whether it's climate change or cross-cultural understanding and all the issues that we want to address, that there's so much percolating right now that we can't help but feel that there's tremendous possibilities out there.
The world through the eyes of filmmaker Stuart Sender is a world of exciting changes and great new directions for the course of humanity. As he himself had witnessed, these changes are bound to transform not only our societies, but also the media itself to serve us well.
Hopefully we're making the future, and that what we can do is we can, kind of narrow the gap between what we call, mass media or corporate media or traditional media and enlightened media. All media can become a little bit more enlightened.
Our appreciation to Stuart Sender, a profound American filmmaker, writer, and executive producer, for your caring endeavors to make a real difference in the minds and hearts of people. May all the success and blessings be with you as we join you in envisioning a more enlightened planet, peaceful communities, and a respected voice for all beings. Kind viewers, thank you for joining us on Enlightening Entertainment. For more information about Stuart Sender's films, please visit www.balconyfilms.com. Now, please stay tuned for Words of Wisdom, up next after noteworthy news here on Supreme Master Television. Wishing you love and encouragement in all your noble dreams.